Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about a JW rapist that walked free. And so right before we get into the video, I do want to give a quick warning. It might be triggering. It's going to get you upset and angry. When I read the headline, I was furious. And so I just want to give a warning that I will be getting into details on this article. So if this video is not for you, please skip it. I find it extremely necessary to showcase this article, this story, so that we can expose the root problems that the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses has when it comes to CSA issues or SA issues. And even though the topic is extremely difficult and uncomfortable, we have to talk about it. Before we get into that article, I am going to be giving some updates on what has been going on so far with the channel. Okay, so update number 1 is that Vern and Shauna from the channel Fixing My Faith has ended their Canadian tour, protesting tour. They have been going to several locations, assembly halls, and even Bethel in Canada, and they have recorded everything and put it on their channel. They've been streaming it live as well. And so if you would like to go check out those videos, please go to Fixing My Faith and please subscribe to their channel. So now that Vern and Shauna are back home, we are going to regularly continue our Friday news segment on both of our channels. We've been streaming simultaneously for a couple of different shows. Every Friday, we'll be streaming JW/XJW News. On Tuesday evenings is my XJW Political Corner show. If you have not already joined us or know about the show, please consider joining us one evening. This video is going to be a recap of a story that I have already streamed with Vern on the Friday news show. So let's get right into it. So the title of this article is called Child Groomer Pamela Lonergan Walks Free from Prison. Jehovah's Witness, who groomed boy from the age of 14 and then took his virginity, walks out of prison after just 9 months. And this article was posted on August 18th, 2024. So this is very recent. It starts off by saying, "These are the first pictures of perverted Pamela Lonergan walking free from prison after serving just 9 months for the sickening sexual defilement of a 14-year-old boy. Our exclusive pictures show the twisted childcare worker attempting to hide her face behind a yellow raincoat as associates shepherded her into the back of a waiting car. The 44-year-old Carrie woman walked out the front gates of Limerick prison shortly before noon on Wednesday, carrying a welcome to the pumpkin patch bag and keeping her hood up." The caption to that picture says, "Lonergan told her religious congregation what she had done." Lonergan, who groomed a 14-year-old boy for 2 years before beginning a sexual relationship with him, was jailed for a year last November after she pleaded guilty to 4 counts of defilement of a child under the age of 17. It says Lonergan was 26 when she first started initiating contact with the minor, having met him in a social setting. Detective Sergeant Kevin Long said that Lonergan and the youth initially talked about matters they were both interested in, such as literature. The court held that the boy was often texted by Lonergan when he was in school, leading him to become tired in class. She also bombarded him with attention and then withdrew it, building up his dependence on her. Sergeant Long said that Lonergan was fully aware the boy was a minor when she groomed him. The boy was a virgin at the time they had sex when he was 16. The defilement continued from that point. Sexual relations only concluded when the man was 18 and moved to another continent for a fresh start. Lonergan told her religious congregation, the Jehovah's Witnesses, of what had occurred and she expressed remorse for her behavior. She also apologized to the victim. The expressions of contrition took place before there was ever a complaint made to Gardai. The man reported the matter to Gardai when he was in his late 20s. Lonergan was subsequently arrested for questioning about the suspected defilement of a child. She pleaded guilty to all 4 charges. In his victim impact statement, the man said he first met Lonergan at a social gathering when he was 14. They didn't have much of a conversation, and he only knew of her in passing. He was aware she worked in childcare and was also employed as a window cleaner. Lonergan became more present in his life when there was upheaval in his family home. She entered my life as my family home was being torn apart. I was extremely vulnerable and lonely, even though Pamela's messages felt unusual and attention was appealing. The texting was intense from day one, and quickly it was constant back and forth text from morning until evening. I learned how to text her during class under the table without looking at my phone. This constant contact massively affected my concentration. Every now and then, she would say she was stopping all contact for a week or two, only to get back in contact earlier than she said she would. I wasn't allowed to text her during these times, and if I did, I was berated. He said Lonergan engaged in toxic, hot and cold behavior. This hot/cold communication and aggression was a pattern that continued in the coming years and created great emotional instability for me. I felt shame when I tried to contact her and was met with aggression and judgment. This giving and removing of intense attention created an extreme dependence. The victim said that phone calls between the pair often went on for hours and left him exhausted and unable to focus in school. We started calling on the phone sometimes from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I missed school days because of my sleep deprivation. Feelings of depression and anxiety increased, he said. He stated that Lonergan began to talk about her sexual experiences with ex-boyfriends. She told me she wanted to be the person I had my first sexual experience with. It was early in the morning after an all-night phone conversation. What she said was so shocking, I took the day off school and spent the day at home in a dissociative state. It felt so unnatural to be in this position, but I was completely dependent. This talking turned to phone sex, and I was made to feel equally responsible and guilty for this. I was too young to understand and navigate those intense feelings. The shame and guilt I was feeling for Pamela's actions caused intense depression and anxiety, and I contemplated suicide. He said when things turned sexual when he was 16, he was made to feel responsible and guilty for it. Whilst in public, he had to act as if they were just friends. If he did anything to show otherwise, he was met with rageful behavior from Lonergan. The secrecy was corrosive, and I felt I was walking on eggshells, anticipating the next bout of anger, he said. The teenager had hoped to go to university with one of his teachers saying that he had brains to burn. However, the abusive relationship took its toll, and he finished school at 16. He said even when he moved to another continent for a fresh start, Lonergan arrived there to be with him, leading him back in this caustic environment. He said his heart sank when he saw Lonergan arriving at the airport. He said when he was 20, he mustered enough courage to break ties with her. However, he was left scarred by his experiences and became addicted to alcohol and porn. He said he pushed people away for years. However, he eventually sought help and subsequently reported the matter to Gardai. He expressed his appreciation for the support of his wife and therapist. He said that he has removed the guilt and shame of this abuse layer by layer. I have come to realize this was a betrayal of my trust at my most vulnerable, and it isn't my fault. I am using this experience as fuel for positive change. So, Pam, you can keep the abuse, the shame, the guilt. It is not mine. Judge Colin Daly said Lonergan relentlessly pursued a relationship with the teenager, jailing her for a year. He said that the aggravating factors involved abuse being carried over a sustained period of time. the fact that she groomed the victim, and the significant age disparity between Lonergan and the youth. So, after reading that article and just understanding the whole scope of the situation and the context of how this abuse started, how this grooming started in the Jehovah's Witness setting, totally can relate to that. What is even more sickening is that she was a childcare worker. So who knows how many other children that she has attempted to groom. I really had to put myself back in that Kingdom Hall setting, and I hate that. That could have easily been any one of us growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses. You are not really taught to think of anybody in the Kingdom Hall as a potential danger. You are in passing with a lot of brothers and sisters in assemblies, conventions, kingdom halls, and in the Kingdom Hall, you grow up with the sense of trust that everybody in this Kingdom Hall is safe to be around, that you could even leave your personal belongings and nobody's going to steal it. It's a very high trust, inclusive society when you grow up as a Jehovah's Witness. So that 14-year-old boy at that time could have easily been any one of us born-ins. I'm not shocked because now I know how rampant the CSA issues are within the organization. The old me is more shocked because how did this happen right under the parents' nose? How did this go on for so long? And why did she only get a year for grooming a child since the age of 14? He mustered up the courage to actually say something when he was in his 20s. That's a really long gap of time. If he would have never mustered up the courage to finally say what happened, who knows if she would have even gotten any consequences legally, let alone in the Kingdom Hall. Another thought that I had was that we normally don't see female predators among the Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe because it hasn't been reported as much, or not that many women have been convicted of this type of crime. Because the majority of CSA issues and SA issues that we have been seeing, especially in the United States of America, has been mostly men. And most of them have also been in position of power. They abuse that power. The average Jehovah's Witnesses feel more comfortable because they are either an elder or a ministerial servant. So when I read this article and I found out that it was a woman, that's when I was a little bit shocked, because I was like, this woman still used the environment within the Jehovah's Witnesses and inappropriately communicate with the minor until it turned sexual. So we can already see how it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. It doesn't matter. They are going to use and abuse any type of environment. So the reason why I wanted to bring up this story and read the article in its entirety was to show how important it is to protect your children in any setting, whether it be religious or non-religious. It doesn't matter where. It is very sad that it took so long for victims of CSA and SA to finally come out in their adulthood with the abuse that they have endured during childhood. Multiple times in that article, he says that he was made to feel guilty and responsible for the crime or for the conversation that took place. And so that is where those charges, I think, should have been extended. I think that you should get the maximum amount in your country or your state. You should get the maximum for defilement of a minor. After 9 months, she gets to walk free. Like, what is that? So now if we're thinking, okay, what's going to happen from here? Okay, she served her sentence. She most likely had a judicial committee and told the elders about how guilty she felt and how sorry she was and how she repented to Jehovah. I mean, these are the types of people who are going to bawl their eyes out in the back room and tell the elders how much they're sorry. And they're going to take into consideration that she served her time, that she apologized to the victim because she was so sorry for what she did. Now that we know how most of these cases go, she can get reinstated. And so that's another reason why we have to continue talking about these uncomfortable subjects, because this person is now out of jail, which means that she can walk into any Kingdom Hall and she'll probably have to register as a sex offender. But she can walk into any Kingdom Hall and continue serving Jehovah as a reinstated member. And she probably won't be shunned if she gets reinstated. Nobody in her congregation would know that this happened, because if she switched halls and she has a whole new group of people that she can start a whole new life, they're never going to know what her past was. They're never going to know why she was disfellowshipped or reproved. Nobody is ever going to know until people who know her are going to expose it. This is exactly what I did with my uncle who lives in New York City. One of my very first videos, I exposed my uncle, who is a Jehovah's Witness, and tried to do the same thing that Pamela did in this article. He tried to coerce a minor. If his plans would have went through, he would have been guilty of the same crime. Defilement of a child, coercion, psychological abuse, inappropriate conversations, and then ultimately carrying out what they really want to do. And so the slap on the wrist is that you have to register as a sex offender, and that's about it. That's not good enough for me, especially that I know that he got reinstated and he can walk into any Kingdom Hall that doesn't really know who he is and doesn't know what happened in his past. And so that's why I blasted his mugshot. That's why I'm blasting this article with Pamela Lonergan's face on the thumbnail in the article, so that if anybody recognizes her, just know that she is a pedophile. There is a huge possibility that she will get reinstated. Anytime I see these stories, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to read the uncomfortable details. We have to continue exposing these people and the organization for allowing pedophiles to be welcomed back into the flock. I mean, who does that? Who welcomes the wolf in the pen with the sheep? I don't understand. I really don't understand. So that's going to conclude my video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more news updates and catch us on the live shows. Every Tuesday is the XJW Political Corner at 9 p.m. and every Friday, usually in the afternoon, Vern and I do the JW News segment. So I hope to catch you in one of our live streams.